Hey, hi. Hey, wait,
Hey,
where am I? Who are you? Hey, Brian. It's been one of those days for me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, grateful. Outside of a small ATV incident with my daughter, we're good.
That would wreck someone's week, and you're just taking
Yeah,
stride.
yeah, she was good. She didn't get hurt, but she bent the axle on the ATV out here. But it's well.
You're almost proud of her, I'm sensing.
Yeah. You put them out there today. We spent the day shooting guns. My sons and I and my daughter was out in the riding the ATVs out on the property here at my parents' house, and you have accidents. Turn them loose, and they have accidents. They
Hey,
survive, and they're smarter for it.
it's what happens. It's what happens. So, guys, welcome tonight, Brian Escalabari. I mean, we're talking like we're friends because we are. And we're just and we're talking with an audience that I know we're friends because we're all here together over education. And so it's going to be a great night. So we're just going to kind of talk about what your positions are and what we're doing. But first of all, I need to put this on the screen. I put it on here last night. Here we go.
Ooh,
Here's
okay.
why. We're going to have to monitor the conversation very closely. I said this last night. I'll say it again tonight. We've got folks that are coming out of the woodwork. They are so mad that we're going after grooming in school. And it is we've checked everybody's background. That's what we do. We're investigative journalists, right? So we've got these folks and these professions are the most angry. Strippers, boudoir photographers, had to look that up. Orgy coordinator, didn't know there was such a thing. There is. Union teachers and school psychologists. There's some sort of weird coalition, Brian, where these all, true story, they're coming out and they're outraged that we are taking care of grooming in school. So we're going to play a little game tonight, not a drinking game. But
Okay.
again, if we get a rude comment or two, I'll let a few of them go. But I'm going to put that comment up there, and I'm going to let you guys in the audience guess what career that person has. And honest to goodness, you cannot tell the difference with the way they talk. So with that,
Ah,
we are going to get started. By the way, all of this is true. So and so we've got a lot going on. So I just want to put a few things up there. I mean, we've got a lot of news coming out of Florida. So when we back up, Brian, and we see what DeSantis has done with education here at Ed First Alliance, he's the man,
yes,
right? I mean, you've said this, the one thing that your platform is, and we all know this from listening to your talks, parental rights is number one, and that's something that you really want to do when you're in office.
absolutely.
And so, DeSantis has signed this bill, the parental rights bill. He's also signed another one that would make it unlawful to teach sexuality and sex to children who are third grade and under. And the people that are mad about it,
Who you think is mad about it?
they're mad. These people on the bottom here, they're
Oh
mad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There it
Yeah.
is. I see it. It's amazing. It's kind of creepy, actually.
Yeah.
That someone would disagree with the idea of not talking to children about sex and sexual orientation. I mean, who fights for the right to talk to kids about
Uh, hold on.
that?
They do, and we cannot explain it. And so, there's only so much we're going to be able to do, right? So in the legislature, guys, I want to explain this because it's really confounding for a lot of people to understand. You ask a Democrat how education is run, they'll tell you from the state down. So we've got the General Assembly, which in this state is really in charge of education, believe it or not. I mean, what they have done though, Brian, you know this, we've talked about this. They have delegated their authority to the state school board and the DPI. They'll write a law and say,
Yes.
you guys do it, right? They have controlled appropriations as well. And they have really abdicated their duty to do this. I mean, a lot of Republicans in the General Assembly will say, the state school board, they're freaking wackos. And we're saying, agreed. Why do you write a law and then let them do all the rules and policies?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
we're trying to take that back. But you just mentioned something like, who in the hell thinks this way? Here's a teacher. Listen to old Christy. Christy said parents don't want their children to learn about anatomy. They're likely perpetrators. In a civilized society, we are all responsible for keeping children safe. Sometimes the public education system has to do the job that parents fail to do, either because they are perpetrators or they're ignorant or uneducated.
Oh, wow. So agree with them, or you're a perpetrator, ignorant, or uneducated.
Yeah. Now,
Interesting.
yes, and so do you see how eager Christy is to take over parental rights? And by the way, Christy's not alone. There are a lot of teachers that feel this way. Let me tell you what else Christy said. This is a beauty. Children aren't property. They're autonomous human beings, and every child has the right to be safe. Parents aren't supposed to be dictators. In my house, let me tell you what, I'm a damn dictator. Children are going to learn about sex. That's a fact. Providing proper education, by the way, that means porn literacy, very likely, Brian. Providing proper education ensures they learn about it correctly. I'm having a hard time understanding your outrage about this.
I don't, in day-to-day life, I just don't converse with people who believe that, who say those kind of things. It's like you're looking for these people and they show up on the internet. Worse, they show up in the classroom. And they want to tell each individual parent, I bet you she's pro-abortion, okay? Because them talking about this somehow makes children safe. The idea that you could talk about sex with the kids, I bet you she's also pro-abortion. She's not really concerned with children being safe. That's why I like the word grooming, because that's what they're doing. They're grooming, they're recruiting. And years ago, I spoke with a psychologist, Sloan, who said the reason in the Black community in particular, so you have 70% out of wedlock birth rate, and which means that daddy's not there, so mama's boyfriend is there, and that Black males in particular are being sexually assaulted by mommy's boyfriend. A lot of little girls too. They're being touched, intimidated, and everything else. So what occurs is they end up in prison because they're either outrageously angry or they become flamboyantly homosexual. So I'm not just saying homosexual, flamboyantly. The psychologist said the reason that is because your first sexual contact creates something in there. It's the first time, and it creates something, and that moment of pleasure is like a drug. So grooming is absolutely
God made it that way. God made it that way for a reason.
God made it that way. Yes. So grooming has to happen because they have to get a young man or a young woman to have an improper initial pleasure in order to continue this whacked out agenda that I believe is really designed to target society as a whole. So we're talking about it in terms of sexuality, but I believe it's about our wonderful nation. I believe it's about capitalism. I believe it's about Christianity, the Judeo-Christian principles that the country is founded on. It's not just about the idea that kids need to learn about sex.
Right.
Sorry for rambling. I'm just passionate about the subject.
But you're actually spot on. There's something called queer theory, and it's a Marxist theory. But what it is teaching kids is this. And by the way, we're having a conference dedicated to this whole thing with scholars talking about this. Here's what it's dedicated to: making heterosexuality the fringe and making homosexuality the norm. I'm not kidding you. That's what we are living through right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called queer pedagogy, actually. And I'll explain it a bit more in detail. But look, what I have concluded, and it's just been recent, not all teachers are not bad.
No.
Not even most, but there are some, and I want to show you some. So when we get the response around here that teachers are the bedrock of society, yes, many are, and that's great. But I guarantee you these people aren't. And let me tell you why. I just did a smattering of some of the mugshots that people have been arrested for sexually assaulting at least one child. In a lot of cases, multiple children before it could be stopped. And so when we want transparency, this is what we mean. By the way, I can't tell who would be a groomer in here. Because, man, woman, young, old, black, white, right? That's why we have to have oversight. So when we're talking about a comment like Christie's, And then we're talking about actually things like this and then wanting to keep secret. We have a problem. I have to tell you, Brian, I'm gonna give you a chance to talk, but I'm really adrenalized about this. We put out a story last week about finding our second school district that keeps these gender changes secret from parents.
Mm-hmm.
Publicized it, did a Facebook Live. Teachers were absolutely outraged. You big, of course, bigot,
Yes.
racist, homophobe, blah, blah, blah. And then this is the crazy part. This is a Thursday. I had male teachers were furious about this, about not having the right to teach sex to children. They were so pissed off that while they were supposed to be teaching on Thursday, they were engaging and blowing up our Facebook page.
I saw that.
That's creepy.
Yes. I saw that.
Creepy.
It's the amazing part is it's such a fringe way of thinking. But like they said, they want to take the norm and make that the fringe. But it's such a fringe way of thinking. It has politicians absolutely terrified to have an opinion on it. And one of the things I do is I go on the record. This is my opinion. I think that is wrong. I think it's predatory. And I think we need legislation. I loved what DeSantis did in Florida.
So this guy, by the way, can you guess? This guy's a stalker. He's an orgy coordinator, married to a stripper. Can't get back, and parents. So he has created, and this is just, I want to educate the public what kind of harassment that we get and who's doing it. Created a fake account that looks like me. Yep. So if you guessed it, they go all out. And a felon. Actually, he's a perfect trifecta. So, but it just goes to show you guys that when you're talking about this stuff, it's animating people.
Yes, they're upset because what they did was they created an environment where a guy like me, right, cisgendered, as they say, okay, comes in and has an opinion, but let's be scared because if we say something, they might not like us. And if they don't like us, they're going to, cancel us. They're going to do whatever. Except I can't live with that kind of fear. When we're talking about children, we need warriors. Warriors have to step up. I mean, warriors in whatever regard that is, in the defense of our nation or in the defense of our children in the school system. That's what it requires. And I think we just need to just speak up because we'll be shocked at how many people agree, but they're just terrified to speak.
Well, they are. And, and the reason why we have been exposing the threats we've been getting, et cetera, is because if we're able to still keep going on and can live through it, if we can do it, you can do it. So we're not going to keep that. We're not going to keep that behind your back. And oh, by the way, we make damn sure that everybody who does want to, blow us up, et cetera, we do a full background check on them, honey.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're creepy.
If you're that upset by it, something's going on. Now, here's something totally baller that DeSantis did, and I'm starting to like him more and more. He just did this. Yeah. This came out 6 hours ago. So to your point, you've got to be a warrior and stay the course. And if people are going to push back, and they will, like Disney has gone completely off. He's like, fine. All of your, your roads, your infrastructure, et cetera, you're on your own.
That's it. You can't take taxpayers, do things with their help, and then turn around and say, but we're going to take your kids and endorse grooming and start making our movies so that they understand that there's this group of people out there who are whatever, trans, homosexual, lesbian, whatever they're dealing with. And we're going to make sure your children know it and think that it's great and want to be like these characters. And so great. Hey, this is America. Fine. But you don't get our help. As a matter of fact, you get our opposition.
Right. Yeah. Do it on your own dime and do it on your own time. Yeah. I mean, we're not going to take away your rights. So I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show the audience again, what we're talking about by grooming. And there's a number of elements that actually go with it. All right. So that you want to know. We want to build the case, right? It's not enough for Brian and Sloan to tell you, right? We've got to show and tell. It'd be nice if I could actually show. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can get this bigger. Okay, so part of it is surveys. Have you seen some of these surveys?
I have.
By any chance? Okay, so you've seen them. You know what we're talking about. Well, shoot, I'm not able to show it here. So I'm just going to kind of read them out. Here are some of the things. And by the way, just so everybody's clear here, a lot of times parents don't know about it. This is for middle schoolers. This is a survey given all over the state. Have you ever had sexual intercourse? This is 11-year-olds. How old were you when you had sexual intercourse for the first time? See how they're tricking them?
Yep.
With how many people have you had sexual intercourse? When's the last time you had sexual intercourse? Boom, 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 boom. And oh, by the way, Brian, listen, the parents were told that their children would be asked questions about abstinence.
Ha!
So this is grooming. Okay,
This
this is an example. When you feel sad, empty, hopeless, or anxious, who are you most likely to talk to? So see, they're isolating the children here. Here's a dandy. This was sent to all Charlotte-Mecklenburg school students, and it's asking, are you gay? Are you straight? Are you whatever? They're asking these kids this, and look how they present this. I apologize for not being able to see it very much.
All grades, yes.
Okay, so here's what it is. How would you describe your gender? Male, female. So you only have 2 chances to get it wrong here, right? And then look at the other 3. Do you identify as transgender? See, they're presenting it in 3s. Which of the best describes your sexual orientation? This is grooming.
Yes.
What you are looking at right here is grooming. We don't know, by the way, we don't know anything about where the data goes, who gets it, etc. Okay, so let's see. Just all of it. Okay, so we have, let's see, we have a stripper here. That's from a stripper. That's a stripper. And by the way, these folks, I want you to know, just so you know, because we expect to train warriors here. You got to know about the battle. They'll set up fake profiles and say, I'm a strong Christian, but I'm such a strong Christian, but I don't like either one of these people speaking. Well, it's bull.
Yes. Yes.
It's bull. And you're going to encounter that. It is silly season out there. Oh, Eric, it showed it too fast. Eric, we don't want to waste our time with this. We got other places to go. Now, here's one that really pisses me off. Let me tell you about this. This is called social emotional learning, guys. This is done in classes. So this is in Orange County. And this is, by the way, a group discussion. Question I have about my face, hair, body, and chest. Okay, students answer that out loud. This is grooming. If you want to know. Questions I have about growing up are, why am I changing? Does everybody change in the same way? When is it okay to kiss somebody? What I want to know is, why do you feel obliged to ask that as a grown-ass man to a child? Okay, this is about my friends. My best friend is Sally. My best friend thinks I am. So what you're doing is you're pulling private personal information from a child. Something my friend does that says or does that worries me. Now you're getting a child to rat out another child by tricking them. Here's another one. My mom or caregiver, her name is, and today I would describe our relationship as. So you're also getting, this is part of an assignment though. So you can't opt your kids out. They just get it. What's your religious preference?
Oh, wow.
Johnston County, 7th graders.
Wow.
Right. Do you think that we have achieved racial equality? Heaven help you as a 15-year-old if you say the wrong thing here.
Yes.
Because you and I can handle being canceled.
But not at school.
Not at 15 years old. What's your race? I don't know how that's relevant.
I don't understand that. And you know what, Sloan, when I think about questions like this, what I think the leftists do is they talk about everything in the open as a theory. And the question I would have to every parent is, how would you feel if your neighbor had this conversation with your kid, with your 10-year-old, with your 9-year-old daughter, with your 13-year-old son, how would you feel if your neighbor was outside or leaning against their front door having this conversation with your kid? So what they do is they try to make us think that within this safe environment called the classroom, that it's not possible for anything unclean to be coming across, because 98% of teachers are absolutely fantastic, but the 2% don't exist. So they want us to believe that there's 100% of teachers, but 2% are bad, so we don't count them. There's really only 98%. And there's your 2% right there. Because I think teachers are wonderful. They get in to help. They're not in it for the money. They're there because they want to do a noble service and they feel caring. But that's the argument they bring out in public, is this theory. Most teachers are good. The issue is there is not a grown man on the planet. There is not an older teenager on the planet that wouldn't encounter a great amount of aggression from any father if they walked in on that conversation, or mother. If they walked in on a conversation with those questions, there's no way that there is not a heightened level of aggression that in some cases maybe leads to violence. So here we are. In school, it's okay though. And I think that's all a bunch of crock. And if we talk to parents and say, are you okay? Not, hey, what do you think about them talking to kids and helping them understand? No, that's theoretical. How do you feel about them asking your kids about their pubic hair? How do you feel about them asking your kids about their religion? How do you feel about them asking your child about the number of sexual partners they had? Oh, I forgot to tell you, your kid is 11.
Try asking that on a job application. See how fast your ass winds up in court.
Exactly. So it really, I mean, it's what it is. And we're going to stomp it into the dust.
Well, the way we do that is this. So social emotional learning is mandated from the state down in all 12 classes, so all academic subjects. So that's whether it's math, whether it's science, whatever it is. And so can you imagine being indoctrinated with this all day, every day? So social emotional learning, Brian, is the vehicle for which we're getting the grooming in. That's how it's happening. So I'm going to have to show you something that would back it up, because otherwise I'm just, blowing smoke. So I'm going to drop some facts right here. And that's why we have to get rid of social emotional learning. It has to be gone. So here's how social emotional learning shows up, by the way, in math. Okay. This is according to the Department of Public Instruction. Have students generate additional vocabulary words that extend their emotions vocabulary. This is in math. Okay. Set up a small group discussion that allows students to discuss how and why emotions can influence our behaviors and what happens when we get angry. Use a novel, and this is it, ding, 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 novel or short story to discuss the character's feelings and how those feelings affect others and ultimately the outcome of the story. This is math. This is why you can talk about, I don't know. I don't even want to say because I'll sound like and I don't want to. Not tonight. But in other words, so what you're saying is if you found your neighbor leaning up against their door jamb talking to your daughters like that, you'd call the cops. But maybe. But social emotional learning makes that legal now.
Yeah.
Are you willing to say here tonight that you're not only going to work to make it illegal, but you're going to use your platform to speak it against it when you're elected?
Absolutely. I'm willing to say that tonight, yesterday, and tomorrow, because it's ridiculous. It's the fact that we have words like parents' rights, the fact that we have words like grooming in regards to elementary school children, even through middle school, I believe, tells you how ridiculous things have gone, that we've basically lost our common sense. We have a deluded group of people who are actually fighting for this and trying to find the value in this. And that's, I think Sloan, 90% of the country is with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a small percentage of people, and I don't dare pretend like I understand some of the struggle. I mean, in terms of if you're a parent with a homosexual child or a lesbian child and you're trying to navigate through all of this And then obviously you have the groomers and the people that have that agenda. So there's this 10% of people who are locked in and don't know what to necessarily do with the 90%. People like you and I who said, don't talk to my kids about that. Don't look at my child that way. Don't ask my child those kind of questions. It's none of your business what we're doing at our house. How we worship is none of your business, and you don't need to keep a log, an ongoing log
Right.
of what's happening in the city or the state in regards to worship. You know, the kid is sitting there in front of you, black as night, white as light,
Right.
and you're asking him what his race is. Okay,
Well, where's it going? That's the thing. Is like where's it going? And so the thing is, though, you cannot, under these guidelines, you cannot opt out. So what I'm telling you is that it's a part of the state curriculum. And guess what? Here's another dandy. You can't sue. Why? Because if it's on all 12 subjects coming from the state, you will not be able to sue. So that's going to be our challenge. And oh, by the way, we've got kind of a workaround. We also need to, and I think this is what we need to work on, is having a law where we would make it absolutely illegal before any survey would be given. Every single time it's an opt-in, a mandatory opt-in, not a passive opt-in, mandatory. So that class lesson I showed you that's asking about pubic hair and the mom, etc., that wouldn't be a part of a class anymore. That's actually going to be considered a survey. And I guarantee you this will fold within a year, because nobody is going to say, yeah, okay, you can do that, right? So this is how pissed off a union thug teacher got at us. Because we are reporting on grooming. I don't know if it would help, but we should all report this page spreading false information. Everything I showed, by the way, it came from schools. You don't have to be a member of the group to do it. Just report it, etc. This is how I want everyone to know. This is how they're going to try to respond.
That is how they responded. You know, I spoke with a teacher here locally, and we were talking about some of the CRT things and some of the issues now surrounding men and women's sports. And I can legitimately say that this particular teacher's issue was that they're not that way. They're against CRT. They're against having boys in the women's room and all of that kind of stuff. They're against that. And their blockage was they can't imagine somebody in the school actually agreeing with that. So they thought that all of the teachers were like themselves. And that was the block they had. Like, it's not going on because they think that everyone is like themselves. And that's the conversation I've actually had with school teachers, explaining and kind of bouncing things off as they shared with me. And the biggest block is that you think if you're not doing it, no one is doing it. And that's a big stumbling block for the 98% of teachers to be able to say, wait a minute, there's something happening with just a few that's really huge in the lives of those they contact.
Okay.
Instead, they excuse themselves and they say, hey, well, I'm not doing it and I haven't seen it and all that. Now, I think even before an opt-in, because I agree with you, Shari, even before an opt-in, I think the parents should get the survey.
Yes.
So don't just tell me what the survey is going to be about. I want to know the content of the survey so that I can have it
at home. Why couldn't you? Okay, so that's another one.
Send it home.
Okay, yeah. So another one could be, but we do need a fix for this. And I think if we have that particular fix, Brian, we'll get rid of the social emotional learning, because guess what? The centerpiece, the cornerstone of social emotional learning are the surveys. You get rid of the surveys. Yeah, and so make it right. So Shari, we should make it like a homework assignment.
That's what it has to be. Don't.
Okay.
I was just in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I was speaking with, some of my colleagues professionally, and this subject came up. And I said, the fact is, we're talking about teachers, and a couple of my best friends were there. And I said, the fact is, if my son goes to one of my friends, my friend better come tell me what he said.
Of course. Of course.
And that's not the courtesy we're getting from the school system. They think they're going to protect kids from good parents when the fact is that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to make sure kids buy into their agenda and go in their direction.
Trying to isolate the children.
That's it. Take them, and it's I'm half Cuban, so you got to turn the kids against the parents. It was Fletcher, English politician, who said, "Let me write the songs of a nation. I care not who writes its laws." He understood that if you can capture younger people and isolate them against the parents, what they say doesn't matter, So that's their plan, to isolate them and turn them against the parents. That way, the children will justify if there's a government crackdown on the parents. That's the way that worked in Cuba. My grandfather would tell me the stories. They get the kids to think what's happening to their parents is right, because they've spent years educating them and grooming them for communism, indoctrinating them to the point that their father is an evildoer, and this is why it's happening to him.
I'm telling you, we hear all the time. Kids are coming home and calling their parents a white supremacists. Don't even really know what the hell it means. So how are elementary schools required to get permission to show PG movies but have free reign to teach SEL trash? Down is up and up is down, Danielle. Yeah. So Eric has a burning desire to know, and we should be telling you, what office are you running for, Brian?
Running for the North Carolina House, State Representative, District 73.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know that Eric wants to know where to send his check.
Oh, get on BrianEcheverria.com. That's BrianEchev as in Victor.
Right here.
ARR. Did you put it on there? Oh, I thought you were putting it on. Okay. BrianEcheverria.com.
Eric, excellent. I know you. That was what Eric was going to ask. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So with the education platform, again, it's very tricky, right? Because you ask a Democrat, hey, where's the center of power for education? They will always tell you at the state level. That's where the money is. 58% of the state budget goes to education. So what would you say? Yeah. So what would you say to an audit of the DPI and how they're spending their money?
I think that we have to have an audit of DPI, and that audit has to happen every 2 years. What occurs is, just for efficiency's sake, so if we weren't talking about this ridiculousness, we would still need the audit, because I imagine that there's anywhere between a 20 and 30% inefficiency. We're not talking about corruption, just flat out, it's inefficient. Because you know what government does? They put Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid, and then spending gets bloated and out of control. It's not necessarily that someone's corrupt or stealing. So what you have to do is you have to audit it to make it efficient. And can you imagine 15% of the state's budget being unlocked? We would be the envy of America amongst all of the states if we can unlock that.
There's your raises for teachers.
That's where the raises are. That's where school construction is at, because they're not big on school choice. They're afraid the money's going to go elsewhere for poor performance, right? And I have to be honest. I mean, if I had the opportunity to have the only restaurant in town and I could keep all the others out, that's a good deal.
Yeah, even for having, hamburgers that taste like poached hubcaps.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you're the only hamburger in town, you're good, which is what they're basically resisting. So if we audit DPI, we do that every 2 years. When you audit a private business, you typically find between 15%, 10% inefficiency, just things that can be structured better, cash flow that can flow with less resistance. It has to be optimized. With that, the sky is the limit for everything. That would affect everything from our income taxes to school construction, teacher salaries. Everything would be different. And if you don't do that, how can we talk about any kind of fiscal responsibility? Now shift that to the issue. The fact is, we don't reward evil.
Right.
We don't reward evil.
We shouldn't.
And so if they start being held accountable the way a parent will hold a neighbor accountable, you'll be shocked at how they clean that up. If we hold administrators accountable when they've been told and have done nothing, you'll be shocked at how they do something. And that's what we have to do. That's why you have to cut the funds. You have to put that in there where you can dole it out. and
Yeah.
you reward what is good, you discipline and punish what is evil. And North Carolina should be among the best students. We should have the best situation, at least among the best in the country. There's no reason with this amount of our money going to our budget, going to education, there is no reason that we should be number 30 in the country.
39.
Number 30.
39.
39. Oh God.
But that's what's pissing a lot of people off, because they are a black box at the DPI. In other words, we're not going to show you what we're doing. Catherine Truitt, the superintendent, at one point when parents were asking her, why is Castle Social Emotional Learning on your website? And you said you're going to get rid of it. She told them, why are you looking at the website?
Huh.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That just happened here in Cabarrus County, actually. So we had a school that put up the school website. And then on the cover of the website, there was a LGBT Americans book, a Black Lives Matter book, a transphobia book, how to deal with it. And there was another book. It wasn't very legible from the screenshot. So they say it's not happening. Well, I had a chance to see it on the website, not happening, I guess.
Okay. So I want you to know that we've gotten a lot of pushback from Cabarrus, a tremendous amount. This teacher is in your district. She is, Jackie, she's wanting to teach this in the worst way. And she wants to censor us, right? And we had a bunch of teachers coming in here taking up for Jackie, wonderful person, etc. She may be a wonderful person, but if you're going to censor others and you're on the web doing it, can you imagine how Jackie teaches inside of the school if you don't agree with her?
Yeah.
These are the kind of teachers that need to be held accountable. Now, last night I did a little workshop, and I'm going to be doing them frequently. It is how to bring good faith, done in good faith, ethic complaints against teachers. And I think, and by the way, a ton of people have been writing in today. They didn't even know that there was an ethics standard. There is. And one of the things that's on it, Brian, is that if you show your ass in public, right, it's a problem. And the reason they say it's a problem is because teachers, you're entrusted with little children. And so you should go over and above, right, and not do these things. And what I'm advocating for, look, you won't, parents, you're probably going to a great school. You probably won't even have to worry about it. But if you do, right, there are steps to go through. Accountability. Let's talk about accountability. That is the frustration that everybody's having, where teachers can get away and principals can get away with impunity, running terrible schools, acting a fool in school, acting aggressively. What do we do?
Oh, man. Well, first, I want to say, like, in regards to teachers like a Jackie Tinsley, I want to say this. The problem, Sloan, is you and I are late to this game. The fact is, someone took people like her and told her that the ridiculous is true. And once you have that, then you have a perpetuation of that. So we're actually late to this fight because someone should have been able to help. One of the things I tell people to do is write that down. Write down what you're saying and then come back and read it tomorrow. Because some of it just makes so little sense that I know they can't possibly be thinking and believing that. Right?
Right.
And so we're late to the party. As far as accountability, one thing we don't need is a teachers union. I know we have a de facto union in the state, but once you have a union, you can't get rid of bad actors, because unions defend their bad actors for the sake of the union. So that's number one. Number two, we have to.
This is how mad this guy is. He wants to dox us.
Yeah, I saw him.
And go ham, which means utterly aggressive. Can you imagine in the classroom?
A student doesn't have a chance to have a conservative value, to have an opinion based in a faith, and you definitely can't be a conservative patriot.
No,
you can't do that in a classroom.
Not in his classroom.
No, and what we need is
we
need one strike, you're out. I think when we're talking about adults dealing with kids, you get one chance. You don't get to, you you don't get to reinvent yourself or hide the way you're going to do it next time. If we know that this is the kind of person you are, there's no need to continue talking about this. We don't need you to go devise more slick, concealable methods to do what's in your heart to do. So we need a one strike, you're out. This isn't you just messed up. This is you literally stepped over the line with a child. And that's it. One strike,
exactly.
you're out.
They're moving from county to county. And so we're learning about, and we're going to be doing reporting on this. We're learning about a policy that we got to verify this first, but we think we are uncovering a policy that would allow, let's say, a teacher that is employed in Rowan, okay, and they get into trouble somehow, that is kept private. And by the way, we, the public, can't access that. And then they move to another county and another county and another county. So, and I'm not suggesting that, teachers who have done terrible things, but they've done something when they have to go to a different county. We need a law for that. We need some sort of transparency so that parents can know what's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we do. I mean, you're right. As conservatives and as Republicans, we have talked about school choice forever. And we have kind of said, just let the liberals deal with it. Now we see that the budget has absolutely, completely exploded. By the way, I need to ring the cowbell. Ding, 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 ding. Thank you, Eric. We need, so you're right. We're looking under the hood right now for the first time. And we're like, oh my God, so much needs to be changed. And that's the problem, is that now you and I are reformers.
Yes.
A lot of Republicans don't know how to do this because for so long it's been about fiscal conservatism, et cetera. But to your point, how can you be fiscally conservative in small government when you're delegating the rules and the policies to faceless bureaucrats and giving them copious amounts of budget to do it?
I think the disconnect is between, and this is me as a resident, as a citizen. I think the disconnect is between the government and the household. They forget that we're representing families.
Yeah.
And the job title is representative.
It is.
Right? There is no father or mother I know who, if we asked them if it was appropriate to have these conversations, to do these things, who would say it's okay for their neighbor to have a talk like that.
Of course not.
And so what it is, it's the whole boo game. They have many of our politicians scared that somehow the regular family is not actually the regular family. In the regular family, you're not talking about sex with your 8-year-old. In the regular family, you're not having a discussion about who's innately evil or innately inferior with your kid. In a regular family. So you have this loud fringe element that makes politicians think that 90% of the people do agree with these loud people. When the fact is 90% of the people, and and obviously that's an arbitrary number I'm just throwing out there, but the overwhelming majority of the people agree with you and I. And with that, I don't mind taking a stand because that is what parents want.
Right. Absolutely. There are, look, we're being, so we're at the block one, and audience, you already know who this was. We're being controlled by a tiny minority of freaks. And I have to tell you, Republicans are the ones, they've been in charge. That's a dead giveaway. We already know who that is. Okay, got it. We already know because you know what, that really makes me mad. Republicans are, a lot of them in top leadership, they're chicken. They don't want to be trolled by these people, and they're go along to get along. But if you go along and get along with the devil at this point, because that's what the progressives are, we're going to find more of this.
Well, I could tell you, when it comes to children, there is no diplomacy.
No way.
Children, there is no diplomacy. We only have one chance with children, Sloan. One chance. In the heart of a child is a seedbed. It's not filtered. It's a seedbed. Whatever you put in there is going to grow up one day. So what they're doing is they are contending for the future. And we as reformers are saying, we're going to play chess and stop this. And on the other side, people in our party, and I don't know who yet,
No.
but they're playing checkers. No, this is about chess. They know if they can put these little seeds in these little hearts one day, 20 years from now, 25 years from now, those are the kids that are going to be in government. They're the ones that are going to be the business owners and the big money people who are thinking like straight leftist Marxists, who they have programmed. Their sexual deviance will be on full display without an intervention, right? And they're playing for who's governing in the future. You and I, we talk to parents, and most parents are just contending for their heart's child in the moment. They just don't want their child to get these things. But it's far more is at stake when we talk about things like the Don't Say Gay bill down in Florida. When we talk about, as they call it, right? When we talk about what DeSantis is doing in Florida, it's literally saying we're going to protect the hearts of children who can't contend. They don't have the ability, the reasoning power, or data to be able to make a decision about what is told to them. That's what we're talking about. And I think I celebrate what they did in Florida, but I think it should have been K through 6 at the minimum.
Absolutely. 100%.
But K through 3 revealed their hand. So K through 3 was a chess move, because who is arguing about talking to third graders about sex?
Disney.
Yeah.
Disney is arguing about it. And ding, 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 ding. Okay? They have been lighting us up. And by the way, we love it. We fight back. Okay? We fight back. We find out who they are and we put it on blast because we believe that transparency will come. That's our job. So we make it transparent. We show that Jackie teaches in Cabarrus. We show that the other dude taught in Asheville. And we lit his school up too. Because look, you're right. People say that it's whack-a-mole. Well, it is and it isn't. But we need people in your position to do this. So we're going to end.
You know what makes me not afraid to speak up, Sloan?
Who?
I'll tell you what. I mean, obviously, I believe God is on my side because something about right makes you bold. The second thing is, I live in a community where people are conservative. In my community where I live, Cabarrus County, they don't want this mess. No. And it's not going to fly. I mean, parents in my county show up at the school board. They're vocal. It goes down in my county because we're solid red.
Yes.
You know, we're solid conservative where I live. So it makes it easy. So I think that counties in North Carolina with the makeup of a Cabarrus, a nice conservative county, are going to lead the fight in this, including their representatives, because their representatives have the boldness, because you can't cancel me for protecting kids in Cabarrus County.
Right.
It can't be done. You know, maybe in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, but not in Cabarrus County.
Well, let's talk about Charlotte.
Yes.
Did you ever think that you would see Ernest Winston go down? This is a man who we know a little something about Ernest Winston. Charlotte Mecklenburg School System Superintendent was fired yesterday. This is a big deal. It's a shot across the bow. It's acknowledging, hey, we better get our you-know-what together. We had the elections coming. I mean, reading was so abysmal. One of the school board members told me that 3% of third graders were on grade level because of this man. It was 24/7 with him, Brian. He was constantly inculcating teachers with this critical race theory trainings they had to do. Yes. Suter Conrad is on our board. She's one of the teachers who was abused by the system and left because of it. She taught at a school that was predominantly Black for, I think, 9 years. Then they were doing literally monthly CRT trainings. It turned into a war zone, so inhospitable for her as a white woman, she had to leave.
Yeah, that's what they do. So when you ask me if I could believe it, I could believe it. It's the same story in every Democrat-led city. And then come election time, they act like they're changing, and then someone just like them will be back. And we see the same cycle. Their cities turn to pot. That's what's happening in Charlotte. You know, my wife, I'm a person who believes in the safety of my family. I would never send my wife uptown by herself at night. Oh. And you know what? In 2007, I could. Her friends would come to town and they wanted to go out to dinner alone. I could do that. Like, hey, okay, see you later.
Yeah.
In 2022, when the Democrats took over in 2008, you can't. By 2012, there were people kissing on the corner, man and man. And by 2016,
during the day, openly.
Openly.
And by the way, guys, I don't want to see two people engaged in stuff, period.
It's
Right?
have some decency.
It's yeah.
Yeah, have some decency. You're out there in the middle of the public and there's somebody's 5-year-old walking by, right? Then now the whole city, all uptown smells like urine. So you don't even want to be there anymore. Okay. And so this is what happens. So you ask me, would I ever imagine? Yeah, this is kind of what they do. They just destroy a thing. They act like they understand they're getting it better. They respond to a little bit of outrage. All of the parents, all of the voters go home saying, okay, we did it. And then they just put someone in there just like that. And it's a complete cycle, which is why Republican-led cities, conservative principles have prospered America and are going to prosper it in the future.
Exactly. Well said. So tell us where you are right now. It looks like you are in a room of a very decorated person. Tell us a little bit about where you are right now and what all that stuff behind you means to you.
Oh man, so yesterday we had a debate. We had our district debate. I feel it went excellent. The people who watched, they feel it went more than excellent. So that's great. So I said, I'm going to come down today and spend time at my mom and dad's house. So my mother and father are 25 and 30-year veterans of the military, highly decorated. I'm so proud of them because, you know, she had me when she was 16. She didn't go into the Navy until I was 11 because she was raising me. So as a 16-year-old, she couldn't go straight to college, even though she was number 2 in her class. She laid it down, went to work, took care of her son. And eventually the Navy did present her an opportunity. And she went in for a better life for me, really. That's where she met my stepfather. And they retired. She was forced career counselor. Okay. She, Black woman. Okay. Forced career counselor, Black woman in this great, big racist nation. You know, it's just amazing. My father, E9, awesome. Okay. Master Chiefs, both of them. And that's one of the reasons I'm so optimistic about America. My family has thought that it was good to serve and protect. They've been honored for their service. Now, when I was 17, they didn't think it was a good idea for me. I was a little, you know, I was in need of a savior. So,
Okay,
but they never encouraged it and they never forced it on me, even though I saw them do so well. They really just let me pave my own path. So I didn't become a part of what people call the military class, when it's just everybody's child goes into the military. I didn't do that, but I did get the values, the respect and the honor. My mom is a rock star. I mean, she has to be one of the most dynamic people in this country. Her mind is great, her emotional stability. And I mean, she is stone cold about what is right.
Is she behind the camera?
No, she's in another room. This is her office, but she is stone cold about what is right. And that's what happened with me. And I just couldn't imagine someone having a conversation with my mother, telling them what they were going to do with me without her permission.
Oh.
But I tell you what she taught me. Okay. My mom was calling shots. Okay. What I was going to be is a decent, respectful young man. And I was going to be educated and well-read. But she taught me you win wars with a pen. She said, Brian, by the time they start shooting bullets, the wars have already been won with treaties, arms agreements, and everything else. So what you and I are doing, we understand that the legislature has to step up, because this culture war, as it goes down in the street, is happening. But we're going to win this culture war with the pen, because when we take the mic away from the left, because that's what we're doing in the classroom, we're saying we're going to take your little Marxist microphone away. And we're going to make sure that our kids are excelling in reading, writing, arithmetic, that they're excelling in the STEM, that they're not excelling in social emotional learning, so that you can insert your derelict things and theories and make them think that good is evil and evil is good, whether that's politically, sexually, or anything else. Right. So and this is America. You're free to live how you want. Hey, everybody, have sex with who you want to. Don't talk with anybody's child about it. That's it. Correct.
Pretty simple. But you can see, I mean, we've got direct evidence. You just saw a smattering of it. I forgot the chick's name, Katie or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, but I'm telling you, they really think that way. They really think that parents are stupid and ignorant, and and it's up to them to teach that. Now, if they were that motivated about teaching reading, We wouldn't have
Yes.
a problem. Or math or science. I mean, if we move out the word sex and say that parents are dumb and ignorant and can't teach math, I'm one of them. I'm not great at math. Okay, fair enough. When you start talking about sex, but these teachers are motivated to teach exactly the wrong thing.
Yes.
That's the problem with other people's children. And I got to tell you, it's very weird to see men who are teachers openly talking about that. Now, how do we get these inappropriate things? Are they dumb enough to put it on our page? Not always. We have teachers, Brian. I mean, probably 30% of our coalition is teachers who are kind of like the ones you talk to that are conservative, but they have a moment where they're like, oh man, I'm not in Kansas anymore. Everybody around here is an enemy, right? But they get these screenshots and they give it to us. Why? Because they're afraid of these teachers being in the classroom unchecked.
That's it. And we need those soldiers too, because we're going to win this culture war. I'm not afraid at all for the future. I actually believe people like you, Sloan, people like myself, people like Eric are going to win the war because right wins. So we have the backing of the people. We, the people, agree that we're not trying to introduce a foreign idea. We're trying to push out this foreign object. And so I have no fear about the future. I think we're going to get in the legislature. Everything that makes sense will be passed. We're hoping for this supermajority. And with the supermajority is great because there's no more excuses about what we've promised and what we said we would do.
Right.
So I'm looking for the supermajority when we can get DPI audited. I'm not here to make accusations. I'm here to say, hey, you know what? Every business has inefficiencies. Why don't we go ahead and address our government that way?
Sure.
Become more nimble. I'm here to say, hey, no one wants their neighbor talking to their kid about sex. So how about we're not going to do that? Because teachers are our neighbors. Just because you're a teacher doesn't mean that you can talk about sex with my kid. When I was in school, you know, the sex talk, you learned anatomy, right? So I have a set, she doesn't. This is anatomy. That's it. You have a private, no one's allowed to touch you. If anyone touch you, tell your parents.
Yeah, whatever happened to that? The privacy square. Because
that's it.
Privacy square. Until you're in 7th grade, and then you can,
That's it.
But again, you know, these teachers are being inculcated with this with our taxpayer dollars. They're coming out of schools that are doing this. And we've caught, Brian, many a training given by the DPI, given by the state. Look, the Republicans have been in charge of the legislature for a long time and in charge of education, and we are here. So we're about holding whoever's responsible accountable. It happens to be Republicans on our end because they've been in charge of it. So I heard this great interview. Is Casey O'Day in the morning. You ever listen to him?
No, I've never heard of him.
Okay, 106.1. You got to listen to it. But he, you know, interviews folks. So he had on a Ted Budd yesterday, and Ted Budd said, "Well, you know, the General Assembly's done great at pushing back against tyranny." I mean, Casey O'Day got all over him and said, "Oh my gosh, how can you say this?" And really ripped into the GOP leadership. And I kind of agree with that. He even advocated not giving to the NC GOP. If you want to give to someone, give to the individual candidates. And I agree with that. This morning he comes on and he says, "Wow, I got a letter from the NC GOP saying, gee, I don't think it's a good idea if Republicans come on your show anymore." So this is, so this sort of, you know, we can't say bad things about our own folks. We can't hold them accountable. That has been killing us with education because we are here now. I mean, what are you willing to push against your own to get things done?
I'm willing to push against whoever's in the way of what's right.
Okay.
My loyalty is to the truth. And that's what people, I think everyone who knows me, that's where I stand. My loyalty is to the truth. My loyalty is to what's right. We can discuss strategies to get to what's true and what's right, but we can't negotiate what is true and what's right. That's where my loyalty stands. I'm a man of conviction, but this is what I also think. I think people like you make our legislators brave. I think that people like you, people like me, people like the parents who are willing to speak up, it makes the people who represent us brave. And sometimes we just need a little more bravery. And I think that we're going to see that bravery. And with that bravery, people like me are going to contribute to getting to what's true and what's right, because true and right is not negotiable. I'm saying that again. Strategy is negotiable, but we're not going to pretend what's true is not true and what's right is not right. I can't afford that. So, obviously I shared with you, I'm a Christian. Yeah. So the whole heaven thing is kind of important to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, and I
nice to have. It's a must have.
Yeah. So I live that way. I live my life before an audience of one. I'm here to please my king. I wasn't raised religious. I became a Christian in 1999. I was going on 21. So I don't know how different I am. I don't know how extraordinary I may be, but I do know that my convictions and commitments are to the throne of Jesus Christ. And I will do nothing that will put me on a collision course with him.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a lot of people like that, and they just may need a little more bravery. And people like you make us brave.
Well, I mean, people ask me all the time, how do you do this? Isn't it hard, et cetera? And you're doing so much, and how do you know what to do? I mean, I have a boss. For me, it's pretty simple. It makes it really simple. I have a boss. I'm told what to do. I'm guided by that. I don't even keep a schedule during the day. The reason why is because, when you feel the hand of God on you and he is guiding your steps and every hair on your head, he's already ordered. When you're that way, you don't get discouraged. You don't have fear. When you have fear, you're saying, I don't have faith. So I want you guys to remember that. Either you do believe that you're in God's hands or you don't. And if you do, keep marching.
You keep marching. And you know what? Sometimes the truth has consequences. It's a bloody battle, and we do have an adversary. So it's possible to stand for the truth and stand for what's right and suffer consequences. And I'm willing to suffer the consequences of pleasing God. And that's where I stand as a human, as a father, as a husband, and in November as a new state legislature. We can put this on the news. We can play this anywhere that I will be in the future, that I'm committed to what's true and what's right. And it's not negotiable.
We need that. We need that more than ever. And so I want to thank you for coming on tonight. Colleen, you have this yet a no show for the debate on Spectrum. I mean, no, because we want to make sure that, everybody, I mean, I saw that as I was coming in. I'm like, what's going on here? There's only 3. We've got to be able to have that strength. We are God's accomplishing it. We're just on his shoulders doing it. It's not us doing it. Yes. It's God. And so God works through people. Mm-hmm. Right. And
we have a bright future.
That's right. And people can be, and they are mean as hell. It's still God working through that. So I want you guys to kind of know. I didn't expect to talk about faith tonight.
Can I say this? Can I say this to you? Yeah. America's the only country that can overcome this. Period.
I love your faith. I mean, it's illegal in the UK and France to teach critical race theory. It's not lawful. And so sometimes I get discouraged. I'm like, if they're doing, if our intellectual import is critical race theory and they're not having it, what kind of hope we have. So I'm so glad that you're so optimistic, because I think it's important to
we're here to win. Listen, we like fighters, but now we're sending winners into our government.
We need it. We need it. Yeah, we need it now more than ever. And so I want to thank you for coming on tonight. This is a fantastic discussion. I can't wait till November.
Me too, man. I'm ready. I have obviously a fire hose of learning to do to figure out how to get the strategies done. I have 119 other hands to shake, 50 more in the Senate. So I'm ready. It's going to be a little curve, but we're going to learn, and collectively together, we're going to win. That's what's going to happen.
Excellent. And Colleen, you've got a great organization as well. I know that this is a true renaissance. I'm a journalist. So for me, it's the renaissance of journalism, because we've got moms all over the state, all over this country. They know how to do a FOIA. They know how to write a blog post now. They know how to do all this stuff. So we have a lot. We have so much good that's going on. You know, we've got Colleen started an organization. You know, the more organizations, the better. And like I said, you know, when Brian does something and the left comes against him, or even sometimes Republicans, we need to have 10,000 strong at his back. Yes. Right? If we want strong leaders, we have to have strong support systems. So it's a partnership, you guys. It's a system. It's not just go in and vote and that's it. So we've got to keep it going.
You make us brave.
Yeah. Yeah. And we will keep doing that. So thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Can't wait for November. And if you want to volunteer, Brian, what are we going to do if we've got 10,000 people want to volunteer? What would you do? What do you have them do?
Oh, 10,000 people to volunteer. One, volunteer some of that money. Yes, we need people to knock on doors.
Yep.
We need people to phone bank, make phone calls. We need people on the internet having a healthy discussion on our behalf. And then we need people to make sure they get to the polls, poll workers.
Okay. And where can they go to register?
BrianEcheverria.com. On there, there's a volunteer area where you can input your information and someone will be right back with you. Also, that's where you would donate.
Fantastic. We're going to be doing a big door knocking event, maybe in your area. So that's how we roll. Is we call it taking it to the streets, and we hit 2,000 houses in an afternoon. It's just a big old party. We've got to be face to face, guys. We're in it to win it. So that's what it takes. So thank you again, and I'll see you out there on the trail.
Good deal. Thank you, Sloan.
All right. Have a great one. Bye-bye.